What's going on, guys? Aegisb here, and today I'm going to be making a video about the 2020 iPad Pro. Now, the 2020 iPad Pro was released in early March 25th to be exact, and Apple last week just announced a couple of new iPad changes, such as the budget iPad being updated to the A12 chip and a new 2020 redesigned iPad Air. Now, with those devices coming out, it might have caused a little bit of doubt with some of you guys deciding between any of the iPads if you should pick up the iPad Pro versus the Air versus the iPad. So I thought I'd make a video that talks about the 2020 iPad Pro and if it's still worth it in 2020, 6 months later. Now, before I get into the video, I do want to kindly ask you guys to hit the subscribe button if you can. It'll really help my channel grow and I do appreciate it. Now, let's get into the design of the iPad. It's very similar to the 2018 iPad Pro in that it's a square format, which was redesigned back in 2018, and it looks more industrial. I really like the design and the edges. It's less curved and it looks more modern and sleek. Bezels are pretty slim and you get a lot of screen with the new iPad. Speaking of that, you get either an 11-inch screen or you could go with the 12-inch screen. They both look good. 12-inch is really more of a replacement for a laptop, whereas the 11-inch is a bit more easy to carry. And compared to the last year's iPad Air or even this year's iPad Air, it's pretty much the same size. So you could carry it around a lot more freely than you could carry around the 12-inch. The iPad Pro also features quad speakers. So you got speakers on each end, very loud, very vibrant, and very crisp. You do get a USB-C port right on the bottom, and that allows you to plug in external drives, cameras, and you could use one cable to charge everything. I even connect it to my display over here sometimes, and it really is an easier way to be more productive. And it's been very useful to me so far. I wouldn't say it's heavy. It's definitely not as light as the iPad Air. It's still pretty easy to carry around in your bag or anything that you want to put the iPad in to carry it around. Going back to the screen a bit, the screen is actually very vibrant and crisp. It features the True Tone, which changes the color depending on the temperature in the room. I usually turn that off because I like to see things as they are meant to be seen, except at night. So I use the night shift to make it more yellow and warmer at night. But other than that, I keep True Tone off. But the display is really good. It's good for you photographers or anybody that's into video work or somebody that just likes to watch movies all the time. This is a good display to use. Very clean, very crisp. And also, to wrap up the topic of design, it also comes in two colors, space gray or silver. So it's pretty basic. If you want other colors, you might have to look at the other iPad, specifically the iPad Air 4, as that comes in a bunch of pastel colors. For me, I got the space gray version, and I usually always get space gray or black if I can. It looks really good. Like I said, I love the design of this thing. Now, I'm not gonna dive too much into the specs because, like I said, it's been about 6 months, so a lot of you know exactly what this thing is carrying, but it features an A12X processor, which is plenty fast. If you're a gamer or a video editor or somebody that edits photos or any intensive tasks, you can rest assured that the iPad Pro 2020 can cover these tasks with no problem. It is no slouch. In fact, according to other YouTubers and my research, it does say that the 2020 Pro and even the 2018 iPad Pro actually has better Geekbench scores than the new iPad Air 4, which is coming out next month. If you are deciding to get a device specifically for speed, you might want to look at the iPad Pro. It's still a good processor in 2020, even though the newer processor is coming on the iPad Air. It also features 6 gigs of RAM, so again, if you're doing any multitasking, having a lot of browsers open in the web, then you're okay with this Pro. You're not going to see it crash. So far in my experience, I've been able to use it. It's really good, and it hasn't really crashed on me at all, actually. So I do dig it. Now let's get into the camera. Before I even get into the camera section, I do want to say, do not use your iPad, any iPad, for the camera quality or even just to take photos. It's good if you don't have any other option around or for scanning documents. The iPad Pro is actually really good for that, but just don't. It's very big, unwieldy. I do use it sometimes on photo shoots when I need to case the scene, so I'll just use my iPad and the ultra wide camera. But other than that, you don't really want to use it. To the cameras, the iPad Pro actually has multiple cameras. One of them is an ultra wide 10 megapixel camera, and the main shooter is actually a 12 megapixel shooter. Photos are crisp, they're clear, but again, use it only when you need to. At the front, there's a 7 megapixel camera. It's good for selfies or doing FaceTime calls or Zoom meetings, which I'm sure a lot of you will be doing now. But again, don't use it for anything else. I hope my point is being very, very clear. You don't want to use this for that just because of the size, and it's 11 inch. If you go for the 12 inch, it's just really annoying to be holding that up. You might be blocking everybody else. So I do want to point that out. If you need to, rest assured that the Pro, for all of you people that are productive, including myself, it's really good for scanning documents, organizing documents, and whatnot. The camera also features portrait mode, portrait lighting. It also has a LiDAR sensor, which is amazing for anybody that does any measurements, anything like that, or some games, some VR games that might require you to use the LiDAR. It's pretty cool. Personally, I've never even tried it. I never used it, but I see the point of it, and it's a good thing to have. I feel like in the future, they're gonna do a lot more with LiDAR. So if you want LiDAR on the iPad Pro is the only iPad that actually offers that functionality. And one of my favorite features, and I think I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video when I talk about Android, is the fact that the iPad actually has Memoji. I like that it does have it on the iPad, although a lot of Pro users might not even use it, but I do enjoy it on my phone, so I'm glad to see it on the iPad Pro. So a couple things I do want to mention that make the iPad Pro stand out even 6 months later is Face ID. I like Face ID. It is more annoying now because everybody's wearing masks, so you kind of have to pull it off. However, I do enjoy that it is on the iPad Pro because it's just so easy to use in general in comparison with Touch ID. Sometimes you're wearing gloves, so you can't use Touch ID, especially if it's cold, or nowadays when you're using gloves to, I guess, protect yourself, then it's annoying to use Touch ID, equally as annoying as it is to use a Mac and use Face ID. However, it's just quick, it works well. It's a good implementation of Face ID, and I enjoy that it's here. You can use it when doing purchases online or unlocking your device. I really recommend the Pro with its Face ID over the Touch ID if you're still thinking about the two. One thing that I do want to say about the Face ID is its placement. I usually have it on my left side, and when I'm holding it, my hand covers the sensor, which makes it a little bit more tedious to unlock my device because I also have to remember move your hand to do it. But when it's docked and I'm using a Bluetooth mouse or a Bluetooth keyboard, it's really, really handy to have that Face ID because I just click the mouse and then all of a sudden it scans my face and I'm good to go. The iPad Pro actually features a studio quality microphone, and I tested it. I didn't really use it that often, but in my quick test, it sounds really, really good. In fact, this video is being recorded. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not using the studio microphones, but they sound great. That's really good to know that if my microphone ever fails me, I'll have a studio quality microphone just in the iPad. So it's good for anybody that does podcasting, or even if you're a video creator and you need to do a voiceover with a client or just a voiceover in general, you might be able to use that as a backup third or fourth option. So that's really neat to have, and I really appreciate it on there. So to wrap it all up, the iPad Pro is very much a pro device. It's not exactly a replacement for a MacBook or a laptop. For me personally, I can't use the iPad Pro for editing like intensive or lots of documents. The iPad Pro does not replace a laptop in my case. However, it can for a lot of people, like students or anybody that doesn't need to do anything that is crazy intensive. If you're having a long session, yes, it could handle a lot of the tasks. However, it's just a lot easier to do it on a laptop. I made a video about this going into further detail, but if the price is right or if the price is comparable, I would highly recommend going with the iPad Pro over the new iPad Air or even the regular iPad. That's just because the new iPad Air 4, which while it has amazing specs and it was really my dream device, they priced it wrong in Canada, so I couldn't really go and get that one. The extra features that the Pro have make it worth it. That's it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I made a video back then and a lot of people mentioned that they were deciding if they should just wait and see what Apple will release before buying the new iPad, and I hope you guys got what you wanted. If you didn't, drop a comment below as well. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace.